Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. So this course is about your conscience, which is far more interesting than any idea that some academic has about it. In previous lessons, we learned that your conscience is not merely a matter of culture or personal feeling. In this lesson, we continue that theme. We will contrast morality, or your conscience, with other subjects so that we at least understand what morality is not. So the first distinction is between morality and law. To see the difference, explore the following types of questions and statements. Are pornography, abortion, cheating on your boyfriend or girlfriend, and unintentionally profiting from human trafficking, are all of those acts moral since they're legal? No, of course not. Was Martin Luther King Jr. immoral when he broke the segregation laws? Well, no. Many people then and now recognize that he was morally right in breaking the law. There's an old joke that says if you cannot be moral, then at least be legal. But hopefully you have higher standards than that. If slavery were legal, would it be moral? No. Look, your conscience is what you use to judge a law. It's not derived from the law. Now, what is the difference, now that we see that there's a difference? Well, some argue that morality has internal sanctions like the pains of conscience and guilt, whereas law has external sanctions like prison and fines. And this is a better way of explaining the difference, but it focuses on how they differ in enforcement, not so much essence. Perhaps we could say we create laws to promote social order, but we create moral rules to promote a deeper form of human flourishing. So as you continue to study morality, try to deepen and clarify this distinction between morality and law. Another joke, someone once said, run this by legal fast and run it super fast by ethics. Number 2, morality and etiquette. So etiquette is politeness, manners, crossing your legs the proper way, like this. Putting the fork on the right, not the left. That one really upsets me. Saying thank you. Thank you, sir, for making this wonderful video. And opening the door for ladies and gentlemen, and others who may be following you. Just don't try to open a revolving door for a young lady because it might break your arm. So what's the difference? Well, notice if I fail to put the fork on the right, you probably don't think I'm immoral, even though I may be impolite in your right fork culture. If I look you in the eye and shake your hand instead of bowing, I might have offended you. But when you learn more, you forgive me, and you don't think of my action as immoral, since I have not yet learned the customs in your culture, the etiquette. Now, as you struggle to identify the difference, consider the following. According to Louis Poyman, etiquette is concerned with form and style rather than the essence of social existence. So etiquette determines what polite is rather than what right is in a deeper sense. So morality focuses on the well-being of people, while etiquette focuses on lubricating the gears of social interaction. It's important, this etiquette, but it's not as deep as morality. Conscience and the principles underlying it determine morality, but cultural approval determines etiquette. So it seems morality is deeper and more essential for human flourishing than etiquette. One student also argued that morality is about motive and behavior, whereas etiquette focuses on behavior. So as you continue your study of morality, try to deepen and clarify this distinction between morality and etiquette. And by the way, I think etiquette is very important and it overlaps with morality, though they are not identical. And if you want to see me lose my temper, try eating your salad with a dinner fork. The next one is morality and religion. Reminds me of a joke. What did God say when he saw Niagara Falls? Oh, myself. Okay, we cannot explore this in depth at this point, but I can make some general points. On the first hand, notice many Catholics disagree with the Pope on some issues like homosexuality, and so there seems to be some difference between their morality and their formal religion. On the second hand, imagine Bob is outside torturing a baby or a kitten for fun. Not Bob. Now, both theists and atheists would object and think it's immoral simply because, well, it causes unnecessary suffering. That is, their morality, both the theists and atheists, is based on this criteria instead of some authority, this criteria of not causing unnecessary suffering. So when it comes to morality, the atheists and the theists have much common ground. On the third hand, there are many philosophers and humans who believe in God. But they also believe morality is essentially about reducing unnecessary suffering, utilitarianism, treating people with respect instead of, as mere things, Kantianism, and so on. So they make a distinction between their belief in God and the moral conscience that God implanted in them, especially those natural law theorists. Now, on the fourth hand, one difference does seem to be that a religious person will often appeal to authority. These authorities include the Bible, Pope, Quran, and so on. Now, most students are comfortable with the idea that religion appeals to authorities more than ordinary moral reasoning, and that's how they answer this question. Finally, on the fifth hand, there are some deep metaphysical and meta-ethical differences between atheists and theists. So consider this type of theistic argument. Theists do not believe that fundamental reality is reducible to atoms, energy, quarks, or other unconscious forces. Instead, most theists believe that fundamental reality is at bottom composed of being and value itself, God. Being and value give rise to matter, not vice versa. God is being itself, goodness itself, and sustains all things. So the theist then argues that this motivates you to be moral, since you become more real when you're moral, or you become more aligned with ultimate reality, the foundation of all, that is God, when you are moral. Interesting argument to consider. So we will explore this in more depth later, but one simple answer is that religious people appeal to authority at some point more. Okay, number 4, morality and art or beauty. Well, thinking about this will help you better understand both morality and art or beauty. Now, one answer is that art is more about human enjoyment, while morality is about human well-being. But art and morality also face some of the same problems. So in modern art, some people argue that it's art if the artist says so. So a signed urinal is art. You can poop on a piece of paper, smear it around, and call it art under this view, and it is. Now, this infuriates me, and it's a sign that we are a bunch of degenerates. I won't go off on that right now. Let me calm down. I will simply say that you find a similar movement in morality. Some people believe anything is good if an individual endorses it. This is a gross oversimplification of morality. See my video entitled 2.1 Subjectivism. So what is the difference? Is art about enjoyment while morality is about human well-being? But doesn't art improve human well-being too? Shouldn't that be an aim of it? Is morality more serious than art? Would you save a valuable painting or a child from the burning building? The child, of course, right? Shouldn't morality override beauty when they conflict? Are morality and art different paths to the same good? And why is it that the most morally beautiful person may be aesthetically ugly in the eyes of many people? It doesn't seem like morality is in the eye of the beholder, since my moral judgment that you should get vaccinated, for example, is based on reasoning, factual claims, ethical principles, and values, not simply my values or my eyes. But is beauty even in the eye of the beholder? I doubt that too. There's a difference in your mind, and the challenge, the difference between morality and art or beauty, the challenge is to pinpoint it. So to explore it, I recommend watching Scruton's beautiful documentary, Why Beauty Matters. So number 5, morality and preference. So here are some of my preferences. I prefer the color fuchsia over other colors. I prefer asparagus ice cream over other ice cream flavors like vanilla, chocolate, and I've tried them all. Now, notice I don't have to really give you reasons for my preferences. Preferences are arbitrary, and this suggests a difference between morality and preference. If Bob supports slavery, euthanasia, or taxing only red-headed people, we expect him to have reasons based on factual claims and fundamental principles, but we don't demand that if he is just stating his favorite color. Preference is about one person and their individual taste, but morality involves considering the well-being of other people, the effect that your actions have on other people. For example, I don't say you should get vaccinated because that's my preference. Morally, I say you should get vaccinated because, and then I give you all these reasons about the spread of disease and so on. If Bob prefers strawberry ice cream after tasting many flavors, it's difficult to change his preference. You could encourage him to taste more ice cream or do surgery on his taste buds, but changing moral opinions is a different procedure. In addition to exposing Bob to new people or flavors, you can challenge his beliefs, his reasoning, and the applicability of his fundamental moral principles. There's a difference between morality and preference, and studying morality will help you clarify that difference. The next one is morality versus emotion. Now, I would say morality is what you use to judge which emotions are appropriate or inappropriate, and which desires are appropriate to act on and which aren't. You can see my lecture 2.1 for more on that. The next one is morality and prudence. Well, prudence is about self-interest, like brushing your teeth, but morality sometimes requires me to overcome self-interest, maybe jump on a grenade to save a bunch of children. And this leads to a deep discussion that we'll explore later in the egoism unit, and part of that discussion hinges on how you define self-interest. But it seems like morality and prudence overlap, but they're also different, simply because the moral act is not always the self-interested act. Finally, morality and ethics, number 8. So some argue that morality is personal and ethics is institutional. Others say morality is about what one thinks is right and wrong, and while ethics is about the principles that shape those moral judgments. People look at the roots of these words, and But many philosophers nowadays don't even distinguish between morality and ethics, and I too will use morality and ethics interchangeably in this course. So there you have it. Hopefully this lecture helped you think about and maybe discover a little more about your morality, your conscience, and at least what it is not.